Welcome back to Old Tool Mate. Let's see what we've got today. Now, just a word of note. I'm comparing the Ryobi hammer drill. So that's two tools in one. It's a drill driver as well as a hammer drill for masonry and really hard timber. So that's the drill I happen to have, 2017. I've had it a number of years, still going strong. But it's quite expensive. I'm comparing it to the drill that came in a set of two tools, the impact driver and the drill. So that's the current kits that I have, but in reality I'm saying, hey, with this $39 drill from Ozito, how does it compare to the $99 drill from Ryobi? So obviously you still have to buy a battery for them. They're going to be cheaper as well. So my kit had the impact driver, so we've looked at that before, but today we're looking at the drill driver. So it's a 2.5 amp hour battery in this set. Also comes with the battery charger. If you're going to do these bolts up, I'll be using the impact driver, but we're going to have a look at that later. So here's the drill. I've got a 3mm drill in here. Here's a Ryobi drill. It's also a hammer drill. So here's a heavy gearbox, but I've got the drill in there as well to start the comparison. This is a 4 amp hour battery, so I'm not going to compare run times. Obviously a 4 amp hour battery, anything, it's going to run faster. I'm using the same driver bits. They're not great ones, they're cheap, and some cheap decking screws. So we're going to have a look at that in these different types of timber. A little bit of hardwood, some structural pine, and some MDF. I've got a torque gauge to tell me how tight it can do these. I've also got a tachometer so I can count how many RPM the drills actually spin at. That can make quite a difference for different drilling that you're doing. So we're going to drill all these holes, or a lot of these holes, using a small drill to start off with a pilot hole, put some screws in, and see how we go. Now, this is straight off the charger. It's fully charged. 3 lights for indicating full charge here. The Ryobi has 4 lights. A little bit hard to see in the video, but these are both straight off the charger, ready to go. Simply fits on easily, interchangeable between the two tools. On this drill, there is a clutch to allow you to stop over tightening the screws. And you can see what you've set it up there. There's a forward and a reverse. So let's put it in forward, ready for drilling. On the Ryobi, mounts differently, so it's easy to put your drill battery on. I've got forward and reverse. There's also the hammer drill option, so drilling or hammer drilling. And there's a gearbox, high speed and low speed. Leaving number 2, which is the high speed. So let's see what the difference in the speed is. If we run this one here, it's going to run round about just under 600 RPM. Let's run it off to 600 RPM for a nice easy to remember number. This one here, I can pull the trigger in. You can see here, it's running around about 600 RPM, but that's because I've got the trigger pulled in halfway. So if I go to full throttle, it's running up to about 1400 RPM. So just over double the speed. That can be quite a difference. Now that was on selection number 2, which is the high speed. Here we do have, it is a graduated trigger. The trigger can be adjusted, but it's quite hard to hold it at really low speed. I find this a little bit insensitive in the drill. It can't really go endlessly between them. Whereas this trigger is quite a bit better. I can hold it quite slow. Let's just put it going forward. So I can hold it easily at about, let's slow it down to about 26, 42 RPM. It's really good having that slow, fine control when I'm trying to do up small or delicate screws. And obviously, it smoothly goes to the range, whereas the Ozito, the trigger tends to sort of jump. Okay, but let's see what happens. I'm going to drill all the top row of holes, firstly through this hardwood flooring. Now, it does stick, and it clogs up the drill flute, so I need to pick drill, that is, stop halfway through, clear the drill, and come up. But it didn't stop, it kept going. But let's see how much it did slow down. It slowed it down to about 550 to 580, so it's not really taking a lot of speed off. Even though this is a hardwood, it's still maintaining its full speed. So yes, it's slower than the Ryobi, but it maintains that speed even during hardwood. Sorry about the glare on the lens here, but going through the soft timber, it actually didn't make much difference at all. It maintained its speed. So just sped it up here so you can see the time, how long it takes to drill all of these drills. Now I'm right-handed, so it's very comfortable for me to use, but what about our left-handed friends? Let's swap over and have a look at how it goes left-handed. You can see that back to normal speed. Ambidextrous, easy. Sometimes you can't reach in with your right, and that goes well. So that took 2 minutes, 15 seconds. It's a little bit hard to get the reading on this one, but it's quite a bit faster, around about 800 RPM, which meant in drilling these smaller holes, it was about 1 minute faster to drill this. So it took 2 minutes, 15 seconds with the Ozito and the slower drill speed. Here I'm just going through at a comfortable speed. Left-handed also works well for this drill, and it's about 1 minute quicker. That's considerable time saving. Let's have a look at the power there. So now we've done some drilling, used some of the battery up. We're going to set the torque measuring, put it into the Ozito, and see how much it can do this nut up. Now obviously this came in a set of two. One was a drill and one was the impact driver. You'd use the impact driver to do nuts up. This is more just to give you an idea of that if you're drilling through metal or like the timber that binds up, what sort of force you have, will you be stopping lots? How does it compare to the heavier, stronger Ryobi? So here I'm just putting on the nut, doing up until the drill actually stops. Holding on with both hands. That's it. I've stopped the drill and it's reading 91 Newton meters. Don't worry about the measurements, it's just purely comparison. How does that compare to the Ryobi? Now, the Ryobi has 2 speeds. I'm more interested in about stopping the drill. So because I set it on the speed of 2, high speed for drilling, I'm leaving it on the setting of a 2 for high speed, because this is a telling, if I'm drilling through something that's a little bit harder and I hit a hard knot or something like that, will it stop the drill? How much more power does it have? So same thing again, grabbing on with 2 hands, in case it, although it appears to be doing more, set on the same speed, 91 Newton meters. So for all intents and purposes, this Ito and the Ryobi would have stopped the same hardness. So if you hit that knot, you've hit that bit of metal, they're going to get through at the same sort of speed. Let's see how they go at driving the drill screws in. So first I'm going to load up all of these so we can drill them all in. Just make them stand up. So here we go, we're drilling away. What I'm actually finding here is without the actual control, I'm pretty much going at full speed. But the full speed on this is about half the speed of the Ryobi. So it's not as vicious. You want to drill in your screws at a bit of a slower speed. You can use a variable drill trigger, but just by having a slower speed anyway, it's already doing quite well. Which is interesting, because as we saw, it took the same sort of torque to stop. It's not being stopped by the force, it's just maintaining still at a speed. But it drills these quite effortlessly, much easier than having to do it by hand, I can tell you that. So $40, it drills okay, and it's driving these screws in. I haven't sped this up because I want to see the speed you can drive at. We're just about to get to the hardwood, so the timber, hard timber, a little bit difficult, but goes through that no problem at all. Just those 3 into the hardwood, no problem at all. So that's, with the Ryobi drill now, I've actually set the speed to number 1, so to the slower speed setting. You'll find when you're drilling the screws in, the slower speed gives you more control, and it's easy to do. The Ozito, with its already slower drill, it didn't seem to be that much of a problem. So I have sped the footage up here, so it appears that I'm going quite fast, but I'm just saving you some time here. I have set it to the slow speed, and I'm using the trigger control, the nice, smooth, easy trigger control, to slow it down that little bit more. So it's a nice, comfortable, easy to work at. With the Ozito, I tended to use it at full speed because the trigger was a little bit grabby and it was hard to control the speed, but it was going slower. Quicker at doing the drilling, but because when you're doing the screwing up of things, you're slowing it down a bit. We've actually ended up taking a little bit more time with the Ryobi, and that's down to the fact I had a little bit more control. I was doing it at a comfortable speed where I didn't slip off. So you can see here, I had it set to the speed of 1. The battery still got full bars of power, and the Ozito still got 3 bars of power. So they're still on, indicating full power after that number. Let's just drive in a couple of screws with no pilot hole. So they just been driven straight in to the timber, no holes prepared, just straight into the timber. This is H4 timber, so it is pressure treated and kiln dried, but it is a soft pine timber. But that's typical of what we might be using in construction for DIY jobs. Has no problem at all, drive them straight in, that's really good. Just as I said before, the Ryobi does have a speed setting, a clutch or gearbox. Obviously, if I wanted to do something like that really hard, really tight, like these nuts, with the Ozito, I'd use the impact driver that I came with it. But just say what sort of difference does it make if I actually put this onto the slower speed setting and then try and tighten this up as hard as I can. You can see it does it a little bit tighter. And the reading is 121 Newton meters. Let's just whip all these screws out now, just to show you that the Ryobi is still going strong, or the Ozito is still going strong. Sped this up a bit, just pull all these out. And the drill is still showing full power. Let's give it a bit of a challenge. This is a 1/2-inch drill bit. It's not the sharpest of drill bit. This I've had for a long time. It's drilled lots of holes and lots of materials, timber and metal. So I would call it half sharp. It's a little bit blunt. Is it a challenge for the Ozito? It's a challenge. I'll put it in backwards. Let's put it in forwards. And that drills quite well. So larger drills, no problem for it. It's been quite surprising to see that even though it's got the slower speed, it doesn't seem to lose any, and it had the same sort of power as a Ryobi on that gearbox. We can see here, not stopping, not much of a challenge. You can drill the 1/2-inch holes through the pine, pressure treated, kiln dried pine. Obviously a hardwood would be harder, it's kind of in the name. But there we go. What about a real challenge for them? Well, where's the battery? It's now showing 2/3 of the battery after doing that. Let's really push it now. Let's put a spade bit in. So a spade bit for drilling bigger holes uses quite a bit of force. Will it stop the drill? So this is a 38mm spade bit, about 1.5 inches. Spade bits can be a real challenge for some cordless drills. I wouldn't try this with a 12 volt, I'd only use an 18 volt. But you can see quite easily here, I'm pushing reasonably firm on this and it's not stopping. The drill's not overheating. It's carrying on drilling through quite well. So what level of DIY stuff are you doing? What do you want your drill to do? It's not going to last all day. It's got a 2.5 amp hour battery, but it powers through this stuff quite well. And I've only used 1/3 of the available power. So if you want something to sit on your bench and drill occasionally, this seems like a good solution. It's quite light. It's quite compact. I actually take this when I away when I go camping, just in case I need to drill or fix something. Because the lightness and the compactness is good. Because I have the battery and I take the impact driver anyway in case I've got to change a wheel. So there we go. That's how much power's been used. I think it's a good buy. It's a good buy from me. I'll see you next time.